Well, a short while ago, I spoke to the Israeli government spokesman, David Mencer. David Mencer, the IDF has admitted shots were fired this morning. Why is Israel firing at people who you have told it is safe to go and collect aid when they are desperate for food?
First things first, Krishnan, we're trying to divorce Hamas from the aid distribution system because Hamas were taking the aid, profiting the aid. You know, they were charging poor, hungry Gazans to get this food. We're divorcing the two subjects of Hamas and aid distribution to allow hungry Gazans to get the food directly, to be able to feed their families in an orderly way. Now, to the event this morning, Tuesday, the IDF have said that as crowds move towards along the designated routes towards a humanitarian aid distribution point in northern Gaza, Israeli soldiers identified several of those people. They left the approved access route. The incident occurred approximately 500 meters, half a kilometer from the distribution site. And after issuing warnings, audio, verbal warnings, warning shots were fired in the air. And unfortunately, some of these suspects continued advancing towards our troops in a threatening manner. And so further fire was directed near. No, where there are people desperate for food, we want them to get the food. That's the whole point. That's the whole point. We're trying to get the food to the individuals. Hamas,
were they armed?
The IDF will be able to answer that question directly, but let me tell you, our intention is to get as much food to ordinary Gazans. In the video of the incident on Sunday, the IDF have already released that video, and it showed as clear as daylight.
That's a totally separate incident, David.
Right, but this is very, very important to put this into context.
That's a totally separate incident in a different place.
No, it's not.
And there's no evidence that was even Hamas.
It's 2 days before. It's 2 days before, and these are Hamas gunmen firing on their own people, Krishnan.
You don't know that.
Why they're doing that?
There's no evidence for that, and it's in a totally separate incident. Let's keep it to what happened this morning. Let's keep it to what happened this morning. Was anybody armed? Did anybody fire at the IDF?
We can't separate the two. We can't separate the two. Now, the IDF said they were advancing in a threatening manner, and obviously they felt their lives were under threat. The IDF operates under international law, not Channel 4 law, international law. And that's why it's very important. The details of this case are very important. Now, the IDF is aware of these reports and also of casualties, and they are reviewing the incident. But look, a couple of things are clear. We are not preventing the arrival of Gazans. The opposite. We want more humanitarian aid sites, and we want more Gazans to collect that food. We're encouraging it. Now, these warning shots were fired
David,
away from the aid distribution
twice now, desperate people who have been starved for weeks have been shot at while trying to collect aid. You are terrifying the population of Gaza even more. They're too scared now to go to collection points because they know they could be shot at by the IDF.
So that is precisely the Hamas rhetoric that they want you to publish.
It's the fact of what's happened. More than 50 people are dead.
No, that's not the facts, Krishnan. You have got the facts wrong because we've already shown you video of Hamas firing on their own people because this is the last hand. Yes, we have. We released it on Sunday evening.
That is a totally spurious video. It's a spurious video of a different incident
the video
in a different
of Hamas
place.
Firing? No, the video of Hamas firing on their own people trying to get hold of aid is spurious, is it? I think it's
You have no evidence
that
that was Hamas or it was at the same incident.
Okay, that's slightly ridiculous. Sometimes, Christian, you actually advocate for Hamas, and I must say it's bizarre.
No, that's offensive, David. And you really shouldn't say things like that.
It is offensive to Israel.
It's just attacking the media.
It is offensive to Israel.
It's a talking point, and it just shows you're avoiding the question. The question is...
I'm not avoiding the question. I'm precisely arguing...
This aid operation that you are operating now is ineffective. The UN one worked, and you have stopped the UN distributing aid.
The opposite is true.
It was the UN who were distributing aid, not Hamas.
The opposite is true, Christian. Over 7 million meals have been delivered in 1 week. Aid is reaching civilians, but not Hamas. This is their last hand. Hamas is last hand on the neck of... the last hand on the neck of Gaza's people. We're breaking that link. We've even produced a woman-only aid lane, which was launched today, which is protecting vulnerable populations amongst Gazans. Look, reports where there are injuries are going to be investigated, but we've shown already with video, Hamas doesn't want this to work.
David. They're not just
Hamas
injuries.
doesn't.
I mean, there's a
Hamas,
pattern here, is the trouble, of you saying things and Israel saying things that turn out later to be untrue. And that's clearly what's happening here as well.
So that is what Hamas wants you to think. We have developed a new system to separate. No, it's not the fact. The facts are that 7 million meals have been given to hungry Gazans. That's the facts. Over 7 million meals delivered in 1 week. That never happened under the former system because Hamas stole the aid. Then they extorted their own people. They charged them money. No Gazan should be charged money for aid which they deserve, which is due to them because they are hungry. Hamas was using those funds to sustain this war.
Most
We're breaking that
was
link.
Given out
We're
by the
breaking that
United
link.
Nations, and people were not being charged for it. Now the United Nations
Most
Secretary
aid
General,
was stolen.
who is a man who's respected all over the world,
he's not respected.
has called for
He's
an
not
independent
respected.
investigation.
No, I'm sorry.
Will
the
you
UN is
allow
not
an
respected.
independent investigation? It
No,
is
the UN
around
is
most
not
of the world,
respected.
maybe not in Israel. So
Every
are you rejecting
single
an independent
Gazan
investigation?
terrorist, every single Hamas terrorist which attacked us on October the 7th was a graduate of a United Nations education. Now, you cannot tell me that the UN is a respected organization. They have unfortunately perpetuated this conflict. They should be humanitarian.
Well, you may not
want them to
respect
be
the UN,
humanitarian.
but are you
we have begged
rejecting?
them. We have begged them to be
This is not just the UN calling for this.
But they wish to sustain Hamas's leadership. They wish to sustain Hamas's leadership, and we are not. Listen, when the British Army is accused of doing misdemeanors, there is no independent investigation. There is an internal investigation.
Two wrongs don't make a right.
All democracies do. No, because it's double standards, Christian. That's what you're guilty of. Different rules apply to Israel. Is it because we're Jewish? Christian, is that why you think there are special rules which apply to this country, the only Jewish country in the entire world?
No, I'm saying there are calls
this country
all around
is
the
being
world
demonized.
for an independent investigation.
This country is being
because you won't allow the press in, you won't allow international organisations in,
precisely,
and you are
that's
judging
not true.
yourselves.
International
That's why they have no credibility.
We do have credibility.
You're not allowing the international
Gazans...
media in. You do not give free passage to the United Nations. You've expelled UNRWA, the organisation which was dispensing aid, and you're saying that you'll investigate yourselves. It's no wonder people don't trust that.
So we're not interested in your trust. Our priority is getting our hostages home, Christian. That's what we care about. We're not sending journalists in. We want to get our hostages out. That's what we care about. Now, real journalists enter Gaza with the IDF. Hamas journalists never leave. And many of these so-called journalists who have been killed in Gaza.
An escort around Gaza.
Yeah. Many
Most
of these
real
so-called
journalists from outside Israel are not allowed into Gaza. Let us in.
Right. So we want to get our hostages. We want to get our hostages out. And rather than you in, Christian, that's our priority. Maybe your priority
don't want us to see what you're doing. That's the truth.
Okay, so the story's on every single screen across the world. So this nonsense, this canard of it's not getting stories not getting out.
But not checked by the international media, and it allows you to say what's coming out of Gaza is untrue. So you stop us going in, and you dismiss what's coming out, and so you can carry on saying whatever you want, and you won't allow any independent investigation or scrutiny.
Look, when it comes to journalists, we are a free country. We are a free society. We have the most open media of anywhere, hundreds of miles in any direction. But unfortunately, an independent journalist in media in Gaza gets killed, because if you put out anything hostile to Hamas, you get killed in Gaza. That's the reality.
Well, it's the Israelis who have a record of killing journalists. Whether it's Shireen Abu Akleh or James Miller or others.
That's an appalling, many so-called journalists in Gaza are actually, unfortunately, these are facts that many of these so-called journalists are just Hamas operatives with press vests. Just check their social media. It's full of praise for Hamas, for the simple reason that if you're a journalist in Gaza and you put out anything hostile to Hamas, you get murdered. Our priority is getting our hostages out, not your journalists in.
David Mencer, thank you very much for your time.
Good to be with you.